Bases dropped in a new round of SDH AM. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. I have an issue I need your help in tackling this morning, and so we'll get into that as a bit of opening kickoff. There's a lot of stuff we got to catch up on, and what I mean by stuff is we got to catch you up on what happened last weekend in Major League Soccer. We got to catch you up on the Club World Cup. If you didn't catch the Morning Espresso with Jason, presented by our friends at Oglethorpe University, he went into the matchup today. We got a matchup today. We match up tomorrow. All of this is at the Meadowlands and their expensive hotels, and we will get you ready for the matchup today as everything heads toward the Meadowlands in the weekend. We've got the Euros to talk about. We've got Open Cup to talk about because they are now in the round of 8. And so half of them are tonight, 2 matches tonight, 2 matches tomorrow. We'll get into your preview with that and all of the news of the morning. And we do have the bat signal out for a couple of guests, and we'll see if they can join us in hour number 1 and hour number 2. There is a bit of an issue that I did want to catch you up on when it came to the Club World Cup. And we'll see if our guest in hour number 2 can help us out with that particular issue. And yes, it has to do with what happened at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the fallout and all of the conversation therein. So a lot of news this morning. And once again, let me know what's on your mind in the Twitch pitch. And thanks for hopping on, as you always do, being a part of our conversation on all of our social media platforms, whether it is on the 200 Indie Character app, the IG, the Insta, or the Gram, as the kids say, on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, or on twitch.tv/soccer down here. So that's the rundown this morning. Yeah, Abby mentions, yes, weather may be an issue as well as ticket prices. Yeah, and the dynamic pricing. Apparently, there are articles in papers on the other side of the Atlantic that are saying, welcome to dynamic pricing. It's going to be with you for the rest of your natural-born life, and it's going to be introduced. It's introduced here, and it's probably going to end up happening this time next year with the tournament when it comes to this hemisphere. And so be prepared. Dynamic pricing, you and your friends, you and your best friends, including your wallet, might be subjected to it from now on. Okay, opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code. For those of you hanging out with us, however you are doing so, hit that QR code, and then what you do is you start your day, you kick off your day. See what I did there with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And then once you have finished buying out the store at Kickoff Coffee, you can do so at a 15% discount when you use the code SoccerDownHere15. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Morning, Alex. Morning, Dawn. And morning, Abby. So, all right, here is my conundrum this morning. Traditionally, you know how things go with me in getting everything prepared down here at Office HD. It is making sure that the show is up and running. I've got all the links down, which is an adventure in and of itself. Traditionally, buzzer goes off. You go down, you get everything squared away, and you get ready for being on the show. I pick out my wardrobe, and yes, it is a process. I have our friends from Texoma FC underneath our San Mariner sweatshirt this morning. And then you go downstairs, and, I grab breakfast or something akin to breakfast, and then I, wander down here into the office. So this morning, I had a problem, and I'm going to ask for your forbearance here. Yes, and Abby, yes, making sure. Well, Rowdy kind of settles in on his own. Rowdy actually is in his completely and totally collapsed position under the second table. All right, so here is traditionally, well, this is this round anyway. All right, so this is what we do to preserve breakfast food, just to kind of make sure that it's okay and it's in a sealed envelope, because you can never make sure that what you've done, what the company has done to seal it that there aren't any flaws or anything. And so what we've started doing, and we started doing it with Rowdy's food too, is we've started putting it in plastic bags just to, kind of keep it hermetically sealed and keep it, up and running. So, all right. Now, this morning, it traditionally, like I tell you, traditionally, go and get breakfast. Now, my problem is this. Right now, you see what we have, the standard Ziploc bag, for those of you who are watching in a video sense. And yesterday, I had a problem where the slide grip popped off, and so I tried to put it back on to make sure that gamey. I don't know if they're not gamey, and Alex is asking if we're back on the gamey muffins. And I don't think they're gamey, Alex, just because they're in the plastic container and they're inside a plastic bag. So, all right. So yesterday, now you see here on the slide, the slide open for the plastic bag. You see the grip here. Grip came off yesterday. And so what I tried to do was make sure that I could put the grip back on, which is probably my first problem, and make sure that this continued to be sealed in the process of, okay, here's the slide. It's all hermetically sealed. Everything's fine and all that. So now trying to open this morning, I can't open it. And I'm trying to, and so Abby says slide grips aren't good. You got to do the double seal. Okay. So my problem is trying to open this damn thing now, because I have tried to, I've moved the slide both ways. I've moved it from one edge to the other, and I have not gotten the response of, okay, this is going to separate and everything is, it's still locked in the container, and I can take the slide and I can go from one end to the other with the slide. And this doesn't change. This is supposed, it's like open and close. And so it doesn't change the status of the bag or what's in the bag. Now, my question is, am I just to the point to where I'm going to have to sacrifice the bag with the breakfast and just go ahead and get a new bag? Am I going to have to, am I going to pop this as we go? Just go ahead and rip it, and it is what it is, and I have breakfast then. We do have reusable containers. Alex is like, better yet, just put them in reusable containers. Right now, the Boss's jambalaya that we had for breakfast, I had it for lunch yesterday. The leftovers of the Boss's jambalaya are there. Well, okay. Well, see now. Okay, so Abby is saying cut it open with scissors, and basically I'm just done with this particular bag. And so let me try something really quick here. Okay, so I'm going to try and do the old routine of, like when you're opening a bag of chips, you take the edges and you pop it. Let me try that. Let me see if it works, and if it just ends up just ripping the seal, and then I'm screwed. So let me do it this way. No. Okay. Wow. All right. Okay, that was not anticipated. So huzzahs to you, Ziploc, for actually making something that doesn't just pop open when you pull it. All right, so I'm sliding it again, and there. Okay, that did it. So now I know what open officially is supposed to be with this thing. All right, so that's it for the bag, obviously, because of the slide. But all right, so now that I know what this is, we're done. We're done with this bag. And I'm just going to close it, and then we'll have like breakfast after the fact. But I didn't know if I was alone in that quest. If you guys have had Ziploc bags, for the lack of a better term, if you've had Ziploc bags that misbehaved and you were trying to figure out, okay, how do I dance around this? Do I try to be nice about it to the Ziploc bag and sit there and try not to just cut the thing open? Or, try and make sure that everything is the way that it is. And, so like I said, that is travels and travails with a Ziploc bag. And we finally came up with a solution A, where we're getting rid of the bag. We kind of knew that when the zip tie, when the slide pulled. but I'm trying to figure out which element of it is the actual element of it. There we go. Okay, so well, look, John now has breakfast. You can't have it on the air, mind you, but John now officially has breakfast now that he's gotten to the bottom of the situation with the Ziploc bag. All right, and that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code. For those of you hanging out with us and accessing us however you are doing so, whether it is on our YouTube channel, on X, and on twitch.tv/soccer down here, you hit that QR code, you start your day off with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And then once again, you buy out the store, which is what we recommend. And then you buy out the store, but you can do it at a 15% discount. So you're saving yourself 15%. You're buying out the store. You're doing Kickoff Coffee some good, because then they in turn take 10% reinvested in youth games, youth initiatives, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right. So this morning we do have some breaking news involving U.S. Soccer and TST. We'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. Let me run through the rest of the other promos for you and let you know what else you can help out with in our summer of soccer. Once again, our friends at Olive and York, you can get the jersey presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. And you can get the navy jersey, and you can get it personalized either in the white lettering or the double blue, the lighter blue, Carolina blue, Columbia blue lettering. Take your pick. Please consult with Alex and Abby to figure out which one suits you best. And once again, you've got Soccer for Good on one sleeve. You got our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring on another sleeve. And once again, you get to sport the Olive and York SDH Year 1 jersey. Once again, proceeds help out our Soccer for Good campaign here in 2025. Grady Baby Co. You can get our gold embossed Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear. You can get that at Grady Baby. And it is in red, it is in black, it is in short sleeve, it is in long sleeve with the gold embossed lettering. You have the SDH network logo on one cuff. You've got the Grady Baby logo on the other cuff. And you can help out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta public school system by helping out and picking up the SDH gear at our friends at Grady Baby. You can watch anything else around the rest of the planet with our friends at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. They've had a lot of the AFCON competition on recently because they have all the BNs. You can get the BN, Nuestra Tele, CDO 1 and 2, Teise, For the Fans. We've seen Tigo. We've seen Canal 4 out of Central America that's attached. You can see our buddy Nino Torres and Gold TV all in one place at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out, helps you out, and helps the true degenerate nature of our viewing habits when it comes to everything that they have in Central South America, Europe, and Africa. Okay, now, also, our friends from the Marshall Islands have started a second round of Kickstarter. They met their first marker, and now that they are 5 weeks out from Springdale, Arkansas, in the first ever Outrigger Challenge Cup, then they are trying to, now that they've got a gauge on expenses and things, they've got another round up to try and help out with costs for everybody to make it to Arkansas for the Outrigger Challenge Cup coming up the week of the 14th through the 16th there in Arkansas. And we're going to be catching up with our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, whether it's Lloyd Hours, Justin Whaley, Matt Webb in communications, to try and figure out what's going on, where they are in their planning. And this will be kind of a continuing process as they get closer and closer to being in Arkansas. We'll be in Arkansas. Don't know to what extent yet because I've got high school football. And we'll try and figure out what we can do that weekend because that's week 0 in high school football. So we're going to be balancing that out as well. And so we'll be catching up with them again. And remember, you can go to Kickstarter, and you can also go to the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation social media and get directed to all of those campaigns to help them out. Like I said, they made their first marker. They're getting everybody there. Now they're working on expenses and trying to help defray that as much as possible with everybody there in market. So once again, you can go to Kickstarter, dial up the campaign, see where they are, help them out. It's round 2 of the fundraising for everything involving the Outrigger Challenge Cup and all of the activity that's going to be in Arkansas. Really cool moment for them and for the Northwestern Arkansas Marshallese community and for the Marshallese community in general and for the Marshall Islands and for the Soccer Federation. So it's a really cool thing that's going to be going down in 5 weeks in Springdale, Arkansas. And looking forward to seeing how that continues to grow. So I'm trying to see, the Chant app, be a Fanatico, $10 a year. What do you do for $10 a year? I ask you, sir and ma'am, what are you doing for $10 a year? Well, what you can do is you can become a Fanatico. And I'm trying to get the Chant app up and running here. You can be a part of our familia here, being an SDH Fanatico for $10 a year. You get a lot of cool discounts at a lot of cool places in the upper half of the state. You got a lot of folks that are joining as we go and our partners, just to give you an idea. And they continue to be added to as we go. Brass Tap in Marietta. We've got new fancy graphics here. Brass Tap in Marietta, Moxie Hotel in Midtown, 20% off of hotel food and beverage if you're a Fanatico. South Main in Watkinsville, Schoolhouse in Marietta, Atlanta Hard Cider in Marietta, Elixir in Buford and Monroe, Round Trip in Marietta, Social Fox in Norcross, Keys to Flavor Catering in Sugar Hill, 15% off your first catered event. Fido's Midtown, 10% off food tabs. O'Sullivan's in Decatur, $5 select beers, 10% off your food bill, 10% off of merch from our friends that are the headquarters for Decatur FC, O'Sullivan's Pub. Lloyd's Soccer, 20% off select Atlanta United gear at the Johns Creek location. Finished Goods in Winder, $1 off select beers. Slow Pour in Lawrenceville. Outrun in Stone Mountain. Tires Plus in Alpharetta, 25% off alignment services, off of oil changes, 50% off 4 tires. Dad's Garage in Atlanta. Chateau Arenal in San Ramon, Costa Rica. You want to go see Costa Rica. I think it's 2 hours outside of San Jose. But you want to go see Costa Rican soccer. You want to go hang out at Chateau Arenal. 10% off of any booking. You get a code. Battle and Brew in Sandy Springs in the Battery. Wild Leap off of Ted Turner Drive. All of those different places. You can be a part of the entire conversation when it comes to helping folks out and being a Fanatico on the SDH as a part of the SDH family. Let me see if I can type it. Group.chant.fan/soccer down. Well, I knew I didn't hit it right. Down here /join, and that need help button. I need the need help button to like go away or go into someplace different. All the things. It's right here. Group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join, and you can become a Fanatico. And you get into our Chant app conversations. We have conversations when it comes to starting 11s, MVPs, man of the match, all those kinds of things. Get them as a part of our Chant app and our group here on the SDH network when it comes to being a Fanatico for $10 a year. Helps out our Soccer for Good campaign there as well. Trying to figure out if there's anything that I have missed. SoccerDownHere.net. You can get all your SDH gear, including the stuff that Jason has completely and totally retrified involving the attack and the ruckus. You can get that at there. Get that on there as well at SoccerDownHere.net. And I'm trying to think. There's got to be something that I have missed. Let's see. Website, Fanatico, Fanatis, Marshall Islands, Kickoff Coffee. I think I've got it, at least until something else happens where, it all pops up into my head and I'll sit there and go, man, I missed it. All right, anyway. So there you go. Okay. Group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. I'm going to go ahead and hit the breaking news, even though it is now developing story status. Unique news involving TST and U.S. Soccer. Here we go. So U.S. Soccer and TST have come up with a new partnership. It is a strategic partnership to grow the game that came out about an hour ago. U.S. Soccer Federation and TST announced a new strategic partnership aimed at furthering TST's growth. I don't know how much more you can grow TST. Thereby expanding, and this is from the release, thereby expanding access to the game, engaging the next generation of soccer fans. Collaboration supports U.S. Soccer's mission to exist in service to soccer and enhances the ability to reach new audiences through innovative competition formats like TST. By joining forces with TST, U.S. Soccer is creating new opportunities for fan engagement, increasing participation, bringing the game to everyone everywhere. Paragraph 1. Reinforces U.S. Soccer's commitment to fostering innovative competitions and alternative formats of the game, complementing recent initiatives such as the Brandy Chastain Cup, the Steinbrecher Cup, and this year's increased investment in the Open Cup. That'll be the next thing we talk about. Quote from JT Batson. It is, once again, for those of you that don't hang out and watch the Plus, 7v7 $1 million prize, men's side, women's side. 2025 tournament held last month at Wake Med. 134 matches, 64 teams, 48 men, 16 women, more than 50,000 fans. Second consecutive year carried on the ESPN family of networks. You had talent from the men's and women's national teams. You had Oglethorpe represented, as a matter of fact. Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga Serie A, Liga MX, and NWSL. TST CEO John Mugar had a quote, and it is the unique partnership focused on leveraging the full breadth of U.S. soccer's capabilities, from technical expertise and player and team relationships. This is from the U.S. Soccer release. To strategic insights and meaningful partnerships to expand the event's reach and relevance. It also aims to spotlight alternative soccer formats that promote lifelong participation and fandom, ensuring more people fall in love with the game, stay connected to it long-term, and ultimately help fuel growth at every level of the sport. So U.S. Soccer and TST, they have a new strategery together, and we can find out what is up there. All right, so I've got to check with them. Okay, so cool. All right, tomorrow morning at 10:30, CFC women's head coach Juan Hernandez is going to jump on. They are in the deep run of the playoffs, and they're in the South Region Final Four, and then 2 matches, 1 location, semifinals, finals, and then by the end of this weekend, the WPSL will get to the Final Four. We'll cover that more again next week. So looking forward to having Juan Hernandez from Chattanooga FC come on to talk about the season, talk about the matchups, talk about the chaos of the weekend. You win one, you get no rest. You have to prepare. It might be a day's gap. We'll go back and look at it. But CFC head coach women's head coach Juan Hernandez joining us at 10:30 tomorrow morning. So very, very cool. Thanks to our buddy Hayes Creech for knocking that out for us. All right. Okay. So now that we got the whole thing going on, Abby, which window, Abby? Abby's wondering about which window. So I got what window are we talking about? 24th is for Major League Soccer, and that's when that kicks in, and that's when Inamaishi or an Mihai, depending on which publication you look at, is going to be the one that will lay things out for you when it comes to the new. So it's the 24th is when everything officially kicks in for Major League Soccer. So secondary transfer window, MLS. So I think it's the 24th, just to be official. So secondary transfer window is, in effect, Thursday, July 24th to Thursday, August 21st. So you have a couple of weeks for teams to get all of their stuff reorganized, rejiggerfied, all that kind of stuff. And we do have some player talk that has been happening involving Toronto FC, by the way, and we'll discuss that coming up in a bit. So all of the things that we talk about between now and the 24th, you can sit there and say, okay, great. In the case of Atlanta United, bringing in Mihai, you're announcing the transaction, but at the same time, and remind me that we do have to catch up with our buddy Nino Torres about Mihai and his playing at Famalicão. But you got to you can't. First off, you got to get your P1 visa and your ITC, your international transfer certificate. You've got to get those in line. Announcing a player early gives you the opportunity to get all that paperwork scored away so that the player can hit the ground running at the beginning of the window. For Atlanta United, once again, remember, you've got a couple of matchups between now and the 24th, and you're going to have to navigate some stuff between now and then. So you have the matchup in Toronto. Then you've got the matchup midweek against Chicago on the 16th, a week from tomorrow. Then you've got the matchup with Charlotte on the 19th. And so it is 2 matches, 4 days, both at home, Chicago and Charlotte. Then the secondary transfer window opens on the 24th, and then you have Seattle coming to town on the 26th. So that's what you're looking at when it comes to matches left You can negotiate and navigate it all you want, but nothing is officially official. Player can't, be a part of team activities until the window opens on the 24th. And then you get all the trumpet fanfares and such. And it's like, oh, so-and-so actually is in. Yes, so-and-so is actually in and training with the team. So Mihai can be announced, but you can't be active with the squad until the window opens on the 24th. So trying to get the P1 visa and the ITC all squared away between now and then. Then when everything is settled, 24th happens, you make the announcement, bada bing, bada boom. Mihai is attached and involved at the back line of Atlanta United. He's integrating with Ronnie Dyla and what Ronnie Dyla wants to do. And so that's where you are. So right now you make the announcement, but you're trying to get everything squared away so that when the window does open for real, everybody hits the ground running all on the same page. So that's where that is with the window. Secondary transfer window in 2025 shifting later than it has been before to better align with the global transfer market. Quoting the league at the time when they announced the date, clubs will have greater opportunities to acquire top players in the summer ahead of the push to the Audi Cup playoffs. And so that's where we are with the secondary window being pushed to late July and now being squared away there. So you get everything all locked in place, and now you're just trying to sit there and go, yeah, okay, we'll work that. A couple of news and notes this morning out of Major League Soccer, and not necessarily a surprise. This is from our friends at GMS. Ben Jacobs, who is one of the busiest men on the planet. We sent Ben an email to late last night. We'll see what part of the planet he's on, see if he can join us either this week or next to break everything down Club World Cup, break everything down transfers, all of that. Ben Jacobs this morning, Messi expected to extend his contract at Messi and Friends despite links with a move to Saudi Arabia. Current contract expires in December, and there has been a concrete approach from Al Ahly to, and this is Ben's wording, to try and prize him away. However, Messi and Friends have been confident that he'll stay until at least the end of the 26th season, doing so playing at Freedom Park. And that's kind of been the plan, is that you sign Messi, you sign him. You have him as a part of the World Cup extravaganza that's happening this time next year. You have him roll out and be a part of Freedom Park. Is Freedom Park going to be ready for MLS activity / world competition activity in the summer or toward the end of the year? So next year is that buffer zone that they were looking at. You want Messi to be there for Messi and Friends and the erector set and all the things, but you want him to usher in your new building. And so whenever Freedom Park is going to be completed and folks can walk in the door and sit down and watch matches, that would be the ushering in of this new era for the Herons down in Miami in Freedom Park over by the airport. So Freedom Park, by the way, I want to get the okay. I want to get the numbers that are attached to Freedom Park and find out what they're looking at when it comes to 25,000 seats. Okay. 25,000 seats. Oh, boy. Okay. Freedom Park, 25,000. Shiny 25,000 seat facility where you sell yourself short. I guess what you're doing is you're making sure that you can be available for the Hard Rock for bigger events. Make sure that the Hard Rock is there for you. But Freedom Park right now is listed as 25,000. A 25,000 seat soccer specific stadium. Current site of the Melreese Golf Course. We have yet to hear of any subsequent issues at Melreese ever since it has been tilled and hopefully excavated appropriately. But 25,000, that's what you're staring at. So you go from Port Miami to Museum Park to Little Havana to Overtown to Freedom Park. Monica Arquitectonica is the architect for the grass facility. Freedom Park, 25,000. For the life of me, For the life of me, I will sit there and continue to raise my hand and go, why is it only 25? And I understand that part of the deal is that you can't make it tall. You can't because of the flight patterns of going into MIA. I get it. I understand it. And so, okay, so it looks like, all right, so hang on. Jess was supposed to join us in hour number 2. All right, so, all right. I'll have Jess tell you the story. I'm not going to tell you the story. So I'm dealing with, let's see. So that, all right. So there, then, I'm trying to negotiate with a guest and figure out when she can make it in. Okay, so there we go. Jess is having issues at home that she's having to tackle this morning. We're supposed to have Jessica Charman on in hour number 2. So I'm navigating and negotiating with Jess. And so when Jess comes on, I'm filibustering here for a second because I'm trying to figure out, because Jess was supposed to join us in hour number 2 this morning. Our friends at Footy Primer spread to the 4 wins. That's why they couldn't join us this morning. And so Jess was supposed to be in hour number 2. She's having some things she's having to navigate at home. And so we're trying to figure out when we can have Jess pop in and break everything down. So tomorrow is going to be Tyler, Dylan, and Juan Hernandez from CFC talking about the playoffs. Thursday, the Power Hour is going to be Nino and Nico from 10 to 10:30. Friday, hopefully we can catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring at 9:30. Then we are also chasing our MLS guest that will join us at 10, and we will see when Jess can join us at some point this week. So we'll sit there and we will continue navigating guests as we go. Figure that out, man. Okay. Okay. So morning, Rich. Morning, Abby. Morning, Emilio. 25,000 you can charge top dollar to those who want it. There are very few who can afford it. And David says, given hurricane risk, also probably can't sink the stadium down either. Yeah, I mean, it literally, you have to be, I would think that you have to be at ground level as well. And you probably had to, you had to dig out some of the stuff that was causing issues underground at the Melreese golf course. And I will leave that to your own devices as to, oh my God, I can't believe they're actually building here, but they are. But they got the okey doke to build at Melreese, and so the Melreese golf course is a part of all of that activity when it comes to Freedom Park. So you have that issue that's attached, and to David, to your point, you probably had to dig a little bit, but obviously you're trying to figure out how far you can. Then you have to build the infrastructure, and then you've got to build up. So, I mean, and it's far enough inland from looking at the map where it's like not really right on the shoreline, but it's, it's a good mile or two in. Like I said, it's right next to the airport. So you're hoping that what the airport has been built on is solid enough. And so you take that information, slide it over to your property line, and go, okay, 25,000 low ceiling, and then if there's anybody else that we need to do, then we'll move it over to Hard Rock and get 45 or 50,000 people there. So that's what you're staring at when it comes to life at Melreese, and what you're building in what you're building in Miami. Yeah, and to the dynamic pricing point, yes, yes, you can charge top dollar and have folks sit there and charge top dollar to those who want to go to it, and very few that can afford it. Rich, being an intrepid producer this morning, I'm going to try and see what Rich has let us in. Okay, so TSA is going to end the shoe removal policy at some security checkpoints. I mean, those are brave folks. Brave folks. I mean, you take off your shoes, you kind of take it off at your own peril. But okay, so it looks like we might be getting to hang on to our shoes. Interesting question, Rich. I think it becomes, I mean, obviously, I think Rich's question, wonder what happens exactly to Chase Field. Yeah, for Messi and friends too, but that's still not enough for people to fill high school and college football games and concerts. It probably does turn into an alternative venue. My guess is that they take, for starters, they take the temporary seating that was employed in the corners to add when Messi signed. You had the Chase Stadium structure. You had the structure of the erector set. I think it was 18. Then you added temporary seats in each corner that got you to 20, 21, whatever it is. Hang on. So now that I'm going down this MLS stadium, not stadium weather. We know what those are. Capacity rankings. I don't want capacity rankings. I just want capacities. List of MLS stadia. Okay. So we doing alphabetically? Chase. Okay. Listed at 21,550. So Messi and friends, the erector set is listed at 21,550. And they added in the corners to get to 21,550. My guess is first thing those seats go away since they're temporaries. Then after that, you end up with, 18 maybe? So you end up with 18,000. And so, probably it turns into an alternative venue. You're probably, because like I said, I think it's attached to Messi and Friends and their training. So no Messi and Friends 2 does not fill the place at all. But it does turn into an alternative venue. And I do wonder about upkeep, events, the facilities themselves, and what it's going to be. But yeah, Rich, to your point, I think that it will end up as an alternative venue for Messi and friends, for concerts, et cetera, et cetera. So no, I think that you're spot on. And yeah, and it probably is going to turn into Lockhart 2.0. I wonder, like I said, I think they're pulling the edges out first. That gets you to 18. And then what do? You try to book a lot of concerts. You know that you're going to have Messi and Friends 2 playing there, so you don't, get a lot of traffic on the Freedom Park field. But then what? I mean, literally, does it turn into concerts? Does it turn into high school? Does it turn into college? It's going to have to be an alternative venue. Or do you just, or do you just let it go? I don't know. But I mean, the facility is, it is a stadium that is, that's right next to a landing strip. And I would, as we think it out, they've got to come up with some kind of alternative plan to continue to make the place lived in, for lack of a better phrase. So that's the big question for me. I don't think everything moves over to Freedom Park that's still awaiting some kind of a corporate sponsor. So-and-so field at Freedom Park. But I am truly intrigued as to what we're thinking involving the erector set. Yeah, the erector set, that's going to be, the erector set's got about another year. And then probably it stays around as a training facility for the competition that's coming. And you could kind of figure that out, I'm guessing. Literally, it would probably end up being a training facility for clubs. So you're steering folks to a Beckham, Moss, Messi property, not necessarily, and it's grass. So you're not having to go to FIU. You're not having to worry about anything at FAU. And so you can go to FIU and you could be at their soccer stadium, which seats about 1,000 folks. But you're looking for grass. You're looking for crowds. You're probably going to put some high-profile folks in there for practices as we workshop this. So probably what's going to happen, the big question for it is going to be not next year, but 27. Because you figure in 26, It'll be a part of the world coming to South Florida. You'll have practices. You'll have all these things, and they'll be all squared away. It's like your usefulness will continue for another year. But once they're in Freedom Park, when Messi and friends are in Freedom Park, then you have Freedom Park. Messi and friends have moved over. Messi and friends 2 playing in the erector set. But you figure there's going to be fans, there's going to be people. You probably have some high-profile practices for the teams that are going to be playing in South Florida because it is ready-made. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that this year, obviously, it is what it is they continue to race to build Freedom Park. Until Freedom Park is complete, which probably is going to be in a year, you're going to be playing at the erector set in front of 22. Then when the World Cup comes, you're going to be in Freedom Park. You're going to have folks with high-profile practices. You're going to have all of those things squared away. But then once everybody clears out, then from August until November, it's going to be what it normally is. Then what's 27 look like? 27, I think, is when they pull everything out of the sides. You've got 18, and then you turn it into an alternative venue and still have Messi and friends there playing in MLS Next Pro. That's me. That's what that's my guess. That's my guess. David wanting to know what's in Ponte Vedra. It's the World Golf Hall of Fame and TPC Sawgrass. Remember also that you have University of North Florida in Jacksonville. And by the way, hornets and trumpets sounding. Sporting Jacks has their first practice as they're getting ready for Gainbridge Super League today. So their first ever practice as they get ready for the European clubs coming over. That includes Wrexham's women in August. On Tuesdays, it is their open practice day. Their first ever open practices today in Jacksonville. And it's going on right now, as a matter of fact. So North Florida is in the Jacksonville area along with JU. But North Florida is the anchor for Sporting Jacks until they get their stadium situation, until they get their stadium built. But right now, they're at the University of North Florida in the process of building their own barn. But, yeah, practice starting today for Sporting Jacks in the Super League as they get ready for that season coming up at the tail end of August. So a big quick turnaround for them. USL, yes, the Miami FC, Rich, the Miami FC could move into the erector set. Frankly, from what, if they ain't paying a whole lot to be at FIU in front of not a whole lot of fans, it might still be economically feasible because they are not drawn well. Traditionally, they haven't. So you're looking at the Miami FC staying probably where they are on the campus of FIU, occasionally maybe going over to the football stadium and playing on turf. But I'm thinking that the Miami FC stays at FIU's soccer stadium to continue what they're doing there in growth. Let's see. Yes, FAMU is in Tallahassee. Nova Southeastern has the Dolphins training facility, which is grass. Yes. Oh, the Miami is buying land to move to Homestead. Wow. So they're investing that way. And yes, technically, FAMU and Florida State are separated by the train tracks in town. And so if you're on the north side of the train tracks, that's the Florida State side next to downtown. And then on the south side of the city, it is Florida A&M. So Rich says that the Miami FC is buying land to move to Homestead. Maybe they should just do it on the infield at Homestead. Go to the Speedway, do it there. And Homestead, and Abby is correct in using the absolutely right word. Homestead is a schlep. That is a definite schlep from Boca, downtown, wherever, to go out to Homestead. You really want to, you really want to, all right, so if you're the Miami FC, you really want to buy land in Homestead, thinking that you're going to attract folks in Homestead. So let's, all right, I'll bite. USL attendance figures. And our buddy John Morrissey over at the USL show. The Miami FC, by the way, dead blanking last in attendance in the USL. Dead blanking last. And I mean, it is by a fine margin. Attendance is down, according to Morrissey. They averaged 1,400 last year, 1,432. This year, they're averaging 1,095, so they're down 23.5%. They're dead blanking last in attendance in the USL Championship. Yet they want to buy friggin' land out in Homestead instead of playing in town where they are, either at Ricardo Silva or at FIU Soccer Stadium. Sure, you go right ahead. So Rich is once again, being the intrepid producer. Landmark agreement with Sports Performance Hub as the county approves a major site plan. This was back over Thanksgiving. So this is how the Miami FC phrased it. This is how the Miami FC phrased this. In a move set to revolutionize the U.S. soccer landscape. I feel like I need trumpets. Sports Performance Hub, a premier multi-sport entertainment complex and preparatory boarding school, including elite training facilities, announced the landmark agreement with the Miami FC. I added the "the." Miami's longest tenured professional soccer franchise. Miami-Dade County approved a November 20 legislative item that puts SPH's long-term plan into action for South Miami-Dade. As a part, Dario Sala, SPH CEO and co-founder. Interesting. As a part of the agreement, the Miami FC will become a key feature of SPH, not to be confused with SDH. SPH will become a stakeholder of the Miami FC. The deal brings together SPH's unparalleled expertise, including Dario Sala and Juan Sebastian Veron, who were recently added to the Miami FC's executive leadership board, and Ricardo Silva, principal owner of Silva International and the Miami Football Club. Let's see. Explaining SPH. The SPH site, which includes a residential student-athlete academy, training facility, sports-themed hotel, and restaurants, also provides a permanent training headquarters and stadium for Miami's USL Championship Club. So basically, SPH wants to create something akin to IMG. And they want to do it in South Florida. This is back at Thanksgiving. So they want to do it in South Florida. And they want to work their way and build this big live, work, play, train, attracting kids environment. And Ricardo Silva was like, yeah, I'm down with that. Quote from Ricardo Silva, Dario Sala, CEO, co-founder. Quote from him, Mario Reutman, CEO of the Miami FC. Quote from Juan Sebastian Veron. And more news unveiled in the coming weeks and months as the group develops this new path for its future to construction of the new complex in Homestead. So let's click on the sperformancehub.com website. The site can't provide a secure connection. Okay. So sperformancehub.com cannot provide a secure connection. And also is supposed to keep an eye on things at MiamiFC.com. So Juan Sebastian Veron, decade of experience. Dario Sala. So Estudiantes La Plata for Juan Sebastian Veron. And they're leveraging their knowledge to do something in Homestead. I'm going to click it again just to see. sperformancehub.com. The site can't provide a secure connection. sperformancehub.com sent an invalid response. Apparently there's a protocol error when you click on the link. But the Miami FC, dead last by about 40% in attendance. And so basically, if I'm reading this correctly, if I'm reading this correctly, what the Miami FC is looking to do is find a home where they have an equity stake and they don't have to continue paying somebody else like Ricardo Silva paying FIU, even though he has the football stadium named after him, or he did at one point in time. I don't think it is now. But you got that. So the Miami FC wants an equity stake in something. So they combine with Performance Hub to build this facility out in Homestead, far away from the maddening crowd. Sure. Okay. And no timetable as to when the land is going to be ready. No timetable as to when they're going to start construction. And like I said, this was back in Thanksgiving. So there's that piece of news from the Miami FC. And whether or not they're going to be in their building for as long as humanly possible. So, all right, that's the latest. And still waiting to hear from Jessica Charman as to whether or not she can hang out. Yeah, and see, Homestead, and Abby's point, Homestead will be great for those that live in the Keys, but you're trying to attract people. My guess is when it comes to if they build this facility in Homestead, then they're not as reliant on attendance. It would be baked in with all of the folks that are already there. You're trying to keep the folks that are part of the live, work, play. You're trying to assume that they'll be soccer fans and come over to the match. With all of the academy activity that you would have at S Performance Hub, you would have folks that could be putting butts in seats because they're already there training and doing things at the Performance Hub. So they would come over. So this looks like something akin to an equity stake and a place that would be bought and paid for that the Miami FC could have as a home, and they're not having to continually pay FIU, whether it's for the soccer stadium, for the football stadium, or another venue. My LFC history. Welcome. Greetings. Do not be a stranger. This is where we are Monday through Friday, right here. Tell your friends. My LFC history, the first time that my LFC history, not to be confused with any other of our LFC histories, but my LFC history joining. Nicely done. Welcome back. Welcome in. Don't be a stranger. Okay, so that's the Miami FC last in attendance. Their average attendance right now is at 1,095, down 23.5%. Next to last is Loudoun United because, they're out at Segra, and it's that same kind of thing. So literally, if you look at Segra and Loudoun United and the Performance Hub or Sports Performance Hub, that's what you might have as something akin to an example. Loudoun United, though, is averaging 1,800 folks for a 5,000-seat facility, and they're still down 31% in attendance. The Miami FC last year averaged 1,432. They're averaging 1,095. To give you an idea, those are the only two that are averaging under 2,000 per match this season in USL Championship. The 1,095 would put the Miami FC 13th in League One, and it would put them last in the USL Super League. Literally, it would put them last. They would be 9th. They would be last in Super League. They'd be 13th in League One, and they're last in USL Championship when it comes to capacities. So there it is. Rich once again discussing the Miami FC never drew that well, of course, when Messi and friends showed up. Yes, they did become DOA. They haven't folded. And it might just be there might be a line item. That's the only thing I can figure is it might be a line item for somebody somewhere. And what they've done when we've had Kaylor Hodges on the show, they've gone away from getting all of the high-priced talent, and they've actually tried to build talent, younger talent, and they've been very competitive in doing so. They've been far more competitive as a USL Championship side, going the youth route and not, dropping dime on like 19 gazillion people. That is part of the deal. News out of Tampa Bay, by the way. And this came, right now. So technically it is breaking news. Breaking news out of the championship. We'll go ahead and hit the breaking news sounder. Cover your ears. Dominic Casciato, whom we know as the coach that has brought Union Omaha a lot of success in USL League One. Dominic Casciato is the new head coach in Tampa Bay. That's big. Two-time USL League One Coach of the Year, Dominic Casciato, as the new head coach in Tampa. Back-to-back League One Player Shields. Hang on just a second. Let me see if I can bring in somebody who is far smarter at this than I am, and to talk about this, because this is somewhat fairly seismic. And sorry, I'm literally scripting an email to Kayla right now. All right, so I've sent a note to Kayla. We'll see if we can get Kayla on here. Tampa announces that they have appointed Dominic Casciato as their new head coach. That's not messing around. Casciato joins after leading Union Omaha to back-to-back USL League One Player Shields, victory in last year's League One final. Rowdies negotiated an undisclosed fee with Omaha to secure his arrival in Tampa. Omaha gave him his first head coaching opportunity ahead of the 23 season. 65 points, 61 goals, 10 league best 10-match win streak, plus 23 goal differential, scoring rate of 2.14 goals a match. Union Omaha, Greater Omaha have been amazing. So a statement from Casciato, a statement from Gary Green. Dominic Casciato goes from Union Omaha to Tampa Bay. Joined the technical staff of El Paso Locomotive in 21, 2-year stint. Moved from 21st to 5th in goals scored. Statement from Ryan Helfrich with the Rowdies. First match as head coach this Saturday as they travel to San Antonio, 9 o'clock Eastern, locally on Tampa TV and on the Plus. Union Omaha is going to release details on the successor as they prepare for Charlotte on Saturday night, also on the Plus. So Dominic Casciato goes from Union Omaha to Tampa Bay. That is huge. I mean, that is a big blanking move for Tampa Bay. They're not messing around. Okay. So did not anticipate that on the bingo card this morning, but Dominic Casciato goes from one to the other. All right. So let's go through some of the other news that we've got, a lot of other things. And if Kaler can parachute in, we'll see if we can to discuss this. Otherwise, go and listen to the USL show tonight because I think business just picked up for them. Laurel Failer in Cincinnati says that FC Cincinnati has made the signing of 21-year-old winger Ender Echenike official. $550,000 transfer from Caracas FC, signed through 28 with an option for 29. Cesar Luis Merlo had reported last week a verbal had been agreed to, contract running through 29. U22 initiative signee on the transfer fee. Transfer window doesn't open until the 24th. So he's not able to be added officially to the roster until then. Once again, international transfer certificate, NP1 work visa. So Echenike will be added either forward or wing back, adding to depth in the attack after having spent $31 million on Denke, Evander, and Orejano. Made a run at signing Thomas Mueller back in April. Low risk move, bringing in Kai Kamara on a supplemental. Echenike is a right-footed player, likely best fitting in at right wing back, where Yedlin and Powell are on expiring contracts this year. Addition pushing the competition level, according to Failer. The club can give him time to develop. Probably his best season as a pro, playing Sudamericana games against big teams in South America, 7-5 in just under 1,600 minutes. So officially official, Echenike signs with our friends in Cincinnati. So, okay. lot of things going on that we kind of need to get into with a bunch of different things. I did not anticipate going down the USL Championship rabbit hole this morning. Just to wrap up the messy part. Messi joined Messi and friends in 23 after leaving Paris Saint-Germain. Al Hilal had made a big push. Al Ahly is now have preference from the PIF clubs, feeling being that the Jeddah-based side are next in line to get the global star. Vinicius Jr. was of interest. Al Ahly could try for yet another move in the summer. No new deal signed yet. Advanced talks between all parties. Al Ahly remain alert to the situation. 34 goals, 42 matches. Found the net 12 times in 14, plus 6 assists. Game-winning free kick against Porto. And then that was here in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So that's the latest involving Messi and Major League Soccer. So in addition to that, there was a note that came out that was attached to Messi and friends the other day, and it has to do with Rodrigo de Paul. Rodrigo de Paul is now being looked at as possibly a new pickup after this season, when it comes to so Luis Suarez. I lost my train of thought because I'm trying to figure out if we're going to get Kaylor Hodges or we're going to get Jess Charman. Okay. All right. So it looks like Luis Suarez might be done at the end of this year. He may go back to South America and be involved in elements that are attached to club growth, the club being built from scratch, and so on. Rodrigo de Paul is now being named as an individual that might be chased by Messi and friends to be a new roster addition. So keep an eye out for Rodrigo de Paul. Red Bull's continuing Timo Werner talks as well as other folks. Red Bulls are in advanced talks to sign Swedish midfielder Gustav Berggren from Rakov Shostakova. Talks first reported by Kasper Tomczyk, defensive midfielder, goes into a midfield group that just lost Felipe Carballo, who goes back to Gremio as his loan is out. One-time Swedish international, spent his entire career in his home country before heading to Poland in 22. 105 appearances for Rakov, 156 for Haken, won the Swedish league and the Polish league with both of those clubs. This is from our buddy Tommy Scoobs. Big pursuit remains Werner, who would be Red Bull's third DP. Remember, Red Bull still have that third DP slot available. Forsberg, Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, talks ongoing as they want to land him. Made MLS Cup last year. Crew is working on a deal for Ander Herrera. As the initial loan from River Plate expired, Crew and River in talks for a new deal. All parties working towards a resolution that keeps Herrera in Columbus. Brianna McKay first reported the club were still in negotiations. Herrera should be able to continue playing despite the window being closed. Sources say that the ITC remaining in the U.S. should still be good to play. You'd have to wait until the 24th to be re-registered if it's not, slowly becoming a contributor for Wilfred Nancy's side. St. Louis, all caps, bidding for Serbian youth international center back Vojin Serafimovic from FK Kukarički. By the way, you want really obscure names? We got like Champions League round one qualifying going on today. Might do the juice boxes in that toward the end. Serafimovic, 43 appearances in the Kukarički first team for in his career. Most recently, Serbia U21. St. Louis once again firing Olaf Melberg. Colorado's looking for a center back after the deal for Stav Lemkin fell through, and that was a mess. That was an absolute mess. Colorado remain in the market for a center back. Club had agreed. Now, remember the stuff with Lemkin, where literally Lemkin had agreed to a deal. Club had agreed to a deal with Lemkin. Lemkin, I think, was flying over to Colorado to sign the paperwork. Then FC Twente came in, and they're like, well, hey, current club that has Stav Lemkin, how about this? Okay, cool. And so literally Stav Lemkin is flying to Colorado to sign a deal with Colorado. Then the club undercut the deal and went with the deal with FC Twente. Colorado looking on targets on the defensive side. Portsmouth are looking at Griffin Yao in the championship. Haven't placed an official bid, but they've kept in contact with Yao's camp. Yao's likely to leave Westerlo in the summer. Contract expires in a year. DC gets a 35% sell-on clause with Griffin Yao, product of their academy, transferred to Westerlo, 8+3, and over 2,000 minutes this year with Belgium. So that's where we are with some of the latest talk. Sorry, I need to be hydrated. We've been talking a lot this morning because there's a lot to talk about. So, speaking of transfer rumors, you're looking at Norgard going to Arsenal. Liverpool get a £47.5 million offer on a forward. Celtic making contact to sign a £10 million star in trying to replace Nicholas Kuhn. So we'll get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Tell you what, we'll go ahead and do that now. Since we're in gossip, rumor, and innuendo, we'll go ahead and look at that. Like I said, we still got to talk about Open Cup. We still got to talk about Club World Cup. There's an issue with Club World Cup that I have with one team in particular, and we'll get into that. And it has to do with a moment that happened at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the fallout therein. It might be another long rant, so be forewarned. All right. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, courtesy of our friends at the BBC. Spurs, Newcastle, Napoli, all monitoring Jack Grealish after City set an asking price of £40 million, three-letter paper. And that's the other thing. We always will remind people. Always remind folks. Check your sources, check your sources, check your sources. Please, 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 please check your sources in these situations. Number of sources. And a guy could, or a source, a journalistic source could have a gazillion followers. But once again, how many of those are bought? What's the history of that individual? Breaking news. Those kinds of things. So, three-letter paper has Grealish in Manchester City. Forest, Anthony Elanga set to travel to Newcastle for a medical. Newcastle agreed to £55 million to sign him from City ground. Newcastle remained hopeful of winning the race to sign Mark Gahey, looking to bolster their squad, adding him from Crystal Palace. Leeds pushing to sign Sean Longstaff. Say that 10 times fast. From Newcastle, waiting on a response to a third offer for the midfielder worth $10 million plus $2 million in add-ons. Crystal Palace themselves in talks with Sporting over a potential £45 million deal for Ousmane Diomande. David Calabria, also a target for Crystal Palace, impressed on loan at Bologna, free agent after leaving Milan. Newcastle have also held fresh talks with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He may end up being the Callum Wilson replacement. And I mean that literally. Callum Wilson out, Dominic Calvert-Lewin in. Whether it's the same positionally, skill set, whatever, it's strictly Callum Wilson out, Dominic Calvert-Lewin possibly in. West Ham defender Naif Aguerd, priority target for Marseille. Manchester United have made an approach for Atalanta and Brazilian midfielder Ederson, with Serie A's Inter Milan and Juve also tracking on a deal at about £44 million. Rasmus Højlund not considering a move away from Manchester United unless the club decide to sell. Inter Milan, one of the clubs to have shown interest, Fabrizio Romano. That's a source we follow. Manchester United quoted a £30 million transfer fee for Andre Onana to Monaco at the end of last month, but looking to increasingly likely to stay. Four-letter paper. Manchester United also interested in Wilfred Ndidi, who has a reported £9 million relegation release clause in his Leicester deal. Fulham, Everton, Palace also keen. Inter Milan concerned that City or Barcelona will trigger the €25 million release clause for Denzel Dumfries, with the option running out on July 15th. Bet on that. Napoli have rejected a €60 million offer for Galatasaray's Victor Osimhen, who has a €75 million release clause for foreign clubs. A coach for a national team in this hemisphere told the Ether that Victor Osimhen should just go ahead and go to Juve because paired with Jonathan David, he'd score 30 goals in a season. Sure, okay, fine. As I said, it was a statement into the ether. Sunderland, Leeds, and Wolves interested in Lens midfielder Neil El Ayanui, but face competition from Roma, Juve, and AC Milan. Slavia Prague manager Jindřich Trpasovsky has confirmed that El Hadji Malik Diouf is set to leave the club. West Ham and Leeds linked with the Senegalese defender. Checking lower divisions and seeing if there's a big name or a name that has been attached to anyone, the answer is no. So that's your current gossip, rumor, and innuendo for the morning. We'll catch up with individual folks coming up in a bit. And there is a moth that is here in the office, and I don't know how it got in. Probably got in when I opened the door. Okay. So Fabrizio Romano transfer news. Now, we get into Romano and the Fabrizio Romano exclusives and things like that. Did you see where, speaking of Manchester United turned down the behind-the-scenes documentary for Amazon? They were like, nope, don't want to do it. And apparently, the Amazon fly-on-the-wall documentary, James Ducker at The Telegraph, Amorim concerned on whether the timing of the documentary was appropriate amid the team's struggles in recent seasons. I mean, if you want to see struggle and you want to see a team come out of it, I understand the journalistic value in it. I understand where Ruben Amorim's coming from, too. Ducker says they backed out of talks with Amazon Prime over the All Access, All Areas documentary next season. United had spent the final months of last year discussing a potential documentary with Amazon. It would have been the biggest, all or nothing series. City, Arsenal, Spurs. Reports would have suggested Amazon were prepared to pay well over £10 million for the privilege. United ultimately decided to pull the plug earlier this summer, mainly as the result of reservations from Amorim. United are said to have presented the idea to Amorim at the end of last season, but he made it clear he wasn't comfortable with the proposal, and it was dropped during a meeting of the club's executive committee, who were unified in backing the manager. Other factors around the nature of the commercial agreement and time pressures also apparently cited Amorim's opposition was the main reason. Amorim just won 7 of 27 after replacing Erik ten Hag, lost the Europa final to Spurs. United finished 15th in their worst campaign in more than a half century. United have made no secret of the need to raise cash. They went on the postseason tour of Hong Kong and Kuala Lumpur that got him £8 million. Mark Armstrong joined United as chief business officer earlier in the year, tasked with boosting the club's commercial revenues. Still have yet to announce a new training kit partner after the expiry of their arrangement with Tezos, the blockchain platform. Can someone please explain to me what blockchain is? Any new training kit deal could also involve sponsorship of the club's revamped Carrington training ground. United cut 250 jobs last summer, and they also declined to comment to Ducker. So, yeah, if 10 million, I mean, 10 million? 10 million? Literally, that's it? 10 million? That's all? Seriously, that's all you're hunting for? Legit. 10 million. Hey, we'll give you that. Christian Norgard's move to Arsenal is now complete, according to Ben Jacobs. Clubs have exchanged paperwork, only the official announcement pending. I think it was 10 plus 5 is what they were looking at. Mateus Cunha is their new number 10, by the way, at Manchester United. Gainbridge is ready. Select match ball. That's going on. And from Doug Robertson of the AJC, as of 45 minutes ago. I'm not going to do breaking news on it, but Brad Gazan underwent successful surgery Tuesday to repair a fractured cheekbone that occurred in the collision with Luis Abram last week against DC United, expected to be available for Saturday's match against Toronto. Stian Gregerson expected to return to training with the team on Tuesday, made 8 appearances this season. Jaden Hibbert is listed as the backup, obviously with Josh Cohen going through an injury. So Brad Gazan undergoes successful surgery to repair a fractured cheekbone that occurred in the collision with Luis Abram. And in that collision, I mean, Brad was down for a while. And thank you, Rich. I figured. So basically, Tezos is blockchain. Blockchain is crypto, and so it's money based on nothing. Brad Guzan collides with Luis Abram, or more accurately, Luis Abram's knee, while he's running and backtracking, smashes into Brad's face. And so surgery to repair a fractured cheekbone. Brad played the rest of the match. Brad played the rest of the match with what eventually would be a fractured cheekbone. He played the remainder of the match with a fractured cheekbone, with what was diagnosed as a fractured cheekbone, and then subsequent surgery. I don't care what anybody says. Brad is one of the toughest dudes. I was about to use a different term. Abby says it far more G-rated than I do, that he's one tough cookie. But, I mean, think about this. Brad finished matches where he would need knee surgery after. And if he hadn't obviously, injured his Achilles to the extent that he did, he probably would have finished that match too. So knee injury and now fractured cheekbone, and finished the matches that he was in. But yes, I think that Abby has it squarely and somewhat, and definitely in a G-rated sense, that he is one tough cookie. I mean, I think legitimately that's probably the best way to phrase it, is that he is one tough cookie. Man, fractured cheekbone. And that was a heavy collision, because if you remember, Luis Abram is going backward. He's racing backward, and Brad is down, and Luis is going by, and the knee of Luis hits Brad on the side of the face. Literally hit him on the side of the face. And that was where that fractured cheekbone and subsequent surgery, and Brad should be available for the matchup on Saturday, is going down. That, to me, is insane on about 17 different levels, but not necessarily a surprise. More from Ben Jacobs. Leeds waiting on a 10+2 to see if that has been accepted. Leeds unlikely to bid again if an agreement can't be reached, but they're optimistic a deal can be struck. Key target for Leeds, first revealed by GMS a little earlier. So Sunderland confirmed Reinildo Mondavas signed on a 2-year deal, on a 2-year contract after leaving Atletico Madrid. We mentioned the Messi and Friends deal and the Messi and Friends contract. Norgard to Arsenal at 10+5. Cunha asked for the number 10. Marcus Rashford was informed prior to the decision to give his shirt to Cunha. Jorge Mas always confident, as he told GMS in December. And we mentioned Al-Akhli and Vinicius Jr. Spurs confirmed Kota Takai has joined from Kawasaki Frontale on a contract till 2030, viewed as part of the first team plans. Center back Japanese international Christopher Nkunku remains on Bayern's radar, keen on a move to Germany. Chelsea is going to only entertain permanent offers. Spurs striker Aleo Velis will rejoin Rosario Central on a season-long loan. There is no buy option. And Newcastle agreed to the fee on Elanga, according to multiple sources, Fabrizio Romano being one of them. Okay, I think we're caught up, but if there's anything else more that drops in when it comes to transfers and gossip, rumor, and innuendo, we'll let you know. Kind of like when Union Omaha lets Dominic Casciato go to be the new head coach in Tampa Bay this morning. So that's the biggest piece of news that we've had during the show. And then Brad and having surgery on a fractured cheekbone. Goodness gracious. Okay. Let's see. Club World Cup, Open Cup. Since we were talking lower divisions, we'll get into Open Cup, and we'll get into some of the other news of the morning. Okay. So Open Cup juice boxes. We've got the 2 matches tonight. We have the 2 matches tomorrow, and that will decide the Final Four when it comes to the Open Cup for 2025. Tonight, and all of the matches are through the CBS family of networks. So Paramount Plus would be a good place to start. Minnesota United, Chicago Fire. The Loons probably trotting out a first-choice lineup. So then, in turn, watch your fantasy lineups for the weekend. Minnesota United a minus 115. 90-minute draws a plus 279. Chicago Fire to win or a plus 250. Late night, San Jose and Austin. San Jose is a minus 114. Draws a plus 263. And Austin is a plus 254. So that makes a lot of sense on both fronts. And would not surprise me if it was a low-scoring game in Minnesota and a high-scoring game in San Jose. The other juice boxes, just for public information, 7 o'clock tomorrow night, Philadelphia hosting Red Bulls. Philadelphia favored at a minus 112. 90-minute draw is a plus 248. Red Bulls are a plus 263. Then the nightcap, slated for 9 o'clock Eastern time at Geodis, Nashville and DC United. Nashville obviously favored at a minus 238. Draws a plus 342. DC United a plus 520. Anticipate Nashville to put in a massive first-choice lineup and try to put the hammer down on DC early so they can make it into the Final Four. So not a shock that the four home teams are favorites. Matchups tonight, Minnesota United, I think it's going to be low-scoring. San Jose, I think it's going to be high-scoring. Philadelphia Red Bulls, that one, Rich, if you go, take some caffeine with you. I don't anticipate a whole lot of goals. You might be there for a while, and then Nashville probably putting up a number on DC. News just now from the four-letter. According to the Associated Press, Spanish police believe Diogo Jota was driving over the speed limit when he and his brother died in the car crash last week. Spain's civil guard said today that while their investigation into the cause of the crash last Thursday continues, they believe Jota was driving too fast when the Lamborghini veered off course after a tire burst. Previously, police had not said if Jota or his brother Andre Silva were driving. On Tuesday, they said it appeared that Jota was, and the funeral was held in Portugal on Saturday. Siblings died in the car when it burst into flames on an isolated section of highway early in the morning. Portuguese media reporting Jota was heading to the northern Spanish city of Santander to take a ferry to England, where he would rejoin Liverpool after being advised not to fly following a recent lung procedure. So Spanish police, once again from the AP, believe Diogo Jota was driving over the speed limit when he and his brother died in the car crash last week. That's from the Spain Civil Guard and the Associated Press. So that's the word from them this morning. Okay. Also, we haven't even gotten into the Euro. We haven't gotten into Club World Cup. All right. We got time. Okay. Club World Cup. I want to piece this information together, and we're gonna walk through this. And Rich, thank you for the kind words this morning. And this is what we try to be. That's why we have the space that we have, so we can look at things in deeper prisms and look at things and have analysis and different points of contact when it comes to stories. Rich and Atlanta United show goes super long on other topics. I mean, that's what we try to be. We try to be a show. We try to be, first and foremost, we try to be a morning show where John tries to tackle plastic bags and try and eat breakfast. But at the same time, yes, we know that Atlanta United is our hammer because that's where we're based. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about with that. Tomorrow, by the way, Atlanta United 2 is taking on FC Cincinnati 2. That is at the Fraction, 7 o'clock pregame, 7:33 kick on our Mixlr channel, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com and soccerdownhere.net. Then we're back at it again on Sunday as everybody races home from Toronto. It is Columbus Crew 2 and the Twos, 7 o'clock pregame from the Fraction, 7:33 start. So FC Cincinnati 2 on Wednesday, Columbus Crew 2 on Sunday, both 7:33 kicks, both at soccerdownhere.mixlr.com and at soccerdownhere.net, 7 o'clock pregame both times. But when we have the chance, and specifically almost I think it evolves on Tuesdays, where we can look at single subjects or look at subjects in general and walk through them and sit there and look at the opinions that are attached. Okay. At Mercedes-Benz Stadium on the weekend, we know that it was a tight match between PSG and, when you've got Bayern Munich and PSG in a building, it is never going to be dull. And it wasn't. But you had the incident late in the first half where you end up with a collision involving Jamal Musiala and Gianluigi Donnarumma. So Bayern Munich, and by the way, Musiala had surgery yesterday. And yes, it does appear that it's going to be a lengthy recovery, and we're talking months. Club announced successful surgery on Jamal Musiala. And he has come out and he has, he's said the last thing I think he posted on his Instagram account was wishing his mom a happy birthday. So Musiala was going for the ball. Donnarumma was trying to gain possession, as keepers can. And when Jess comes on the show, I wanted to discuss this with her. So we'll start the discussion here, and then when Jess comes in, we'll go GK Union and look at it that way. So as Musiala is trying to gain possession, Donnarumma is diving for the ball. And Donnarumma gains possession of it. Musiala gets tangled up in Donnarumma, and Musiala falls to his left as his left leg is anchored around Donnarumma. DAZN US showed one replay, and then they laid out. They showed the high angle, the all 22 from above, for any other subsequent replay. And so Musiala was injured. It ends up as a left leg fracture. I thought it was an ankle. They're listing it as a left leg fracture. Successful surgery after returning from the United States. So then you end up with Donnarumma, who was absolutely crestfallen. I mean, he was incredibly emotional after the realization hit about the injury and what happened. So Vincent Kompany came out and said that his blood was boiling after Musiala suffered the fracture to his leg. And Kompany told reporters, and this was after the match, and I'll probably pull the sound and if we don't get into any kind of trouble with it. I've rarely been so angry at halftime, not against my players. I know there are many things in life much more important than this, but for these guys, it's their life. Someone like Jamal lives for this. He just came back from a setback, and then it happens. In the way it happens, you feel powerless. Sat here now, and the thing that gets my blood still boiling at the moment is not the result. I understand this is football. It's the fact that it happened to someone that one enjoys the game so much, but also is very important for us. Bayern said Musiala flew back from Orlando to Munich on Sunday, and he underwent successful surgery yesterday. Donnarumma, post-match, writes on social media, all my prayers and well wishes are with you, Jamal. German national team's player of the year for the second time in 24. Board member Max Eberl said in a statement, this hits FC Bayern. Everyone knows how immensely important Jamal is for our game and what a central role he has in our team. Jamal has just come back from an injury, out for another long period. Support him intensively, be by his side. Already look forward to when he's back on the pitch. So that was the subsequent statement from Max Eberl after the injury and after some time had passed. After the match, both Eberl and Manuel Neuer went into the mix zone. So Neuer criticizes Donnarumma Neuer told reporters after the match, a situation where you don't have to go in like that, that's risky. He's willing to accept the risk of injuring his opponent. I went up to him and said, don't you want to go over to our player? It's only right to go over and wish the guy well. He did that in the end. Fairness is always important. I would have reacted differently. Donnarumma later posted a photo on Instagram of himself looking distraught following the injury, along with a message from Musiala that read, all my prayers and well wishes are with you. And so then Vincent Kompany says what he's going to say that we've already talked about. And then Hakimi led off his post-match comments, and you heard that on the post-match report that Maddie and Jason had. You heard the comments from Achraf Hakimi leading off, sending his support to Musiala. Then Neuer says what he says. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and re-rack what Neuer said. A situation where you don't have to go in like that. That's risky. He's willing to accept the risk of injuring his opponent. I went up to him and said, don't you want to go over to our player? It's only right to go over and wish the guy well. He did that in the end. Fairness is always important. I would have reacted differently. So, and like I said, when Jess comes in, I'm going to ask specifically about GK Union, because I want to know in these situations, when it comes to saying things about other players, injuries, etc. Are you is it speaking out of school to say what Neuer said about Donnarumma? Is that, are you talking out of school by basically throwing somebody under like that, which is what I think Neuer did. I think Neuer threw him under the bus. Donnarumma was going for the ball. For Neuer to say it's a situation where you don't have to go in like that, he's willing to accept the risk of injuring his opponent. That's going out there for Neuer. And Thibaut Courtois comes out and says, as a part of GK Union, people blaming Donnarumma for Musiala's injury seems excessive to me. Goalkeepers go for the ball. Attackers don't hold back either when they go straight at our faces. It's just bad luck. I would admit that I am of Team Courtois in this instance. I am of Team Courtois. And then you have Neuer say what he said, basically calling out a fellow keeper. I went to him and said, don't you want to go and see our player? It's a matter of respect of going there and wishing the guy all the best. He then did it. Fair play is always a part of it. I would have reacted differently. Neuer throws him under the bus. I mean, Donnarumma initially, and all you got to do when you're talking about Neuer, go back into Neuer's history and look at how aggressive he is at times. Like I said, I'm of Team Courtois in this instance. So Neuer says what he says. Then Max Eberl, after the match, the sporting director, the CEO, quote, when I jump onto Musiala's lower leg while sprinting weighing 100 kilos, there's a high risk of something happening. I don't think he did it intentionally, but he also wasn't being considerate. So the sporting director jumps on Donnarumma, who was visibly shaken after he realized what had happened. And like I said, there's that one cutaway from DAZN US where, and it literally is a cutaway. You literally see Musiala's left leg going in a direction it's not supposed to. And then, thankfully, quickly, DAZN's producer and director cut away from it. Called for a different shot. Donnarumma is walking the other way, and he was crestfallen. You absolutely see Gianluigi Donnarumma. He is absolutely emotional. And at halftime, if I remember correctly, he and Neuer are having words. And that's probably where that conversation goes with Neuer and Max Eberl. So I'm going to break the fourth wall here a little bit. The post-game setting in the mix zone for the Club World Cup, you had a maximum of 4 stations in the mix zone. All 4 were lighted. All 4 had platforms. 2 were lighted and had DAZN cameras attached for sound that goes into the MD, that goes into the files for folks to use. Scribes go, radio people go. We all figured out, okay, if we put our microphones up by the loudspeakers, everything's fine. So 4 stations. We are waiting for various and sundry folks. And we're getting our sound. And, I got, Hakimi came out. I grabbed that sound. Thomas Mueller came out, grabbed that sound. And then we look behind us, and this is at one of the lighted and camera stations. We look behind us, and Eberl is talking on one of the platforms that has fencing and a platform and lighting, but no microphone and no speaker. And so Eberl has a crowd of folks around him, and part of what he said was what I just told you. So no camera, just, social media people holding up their phones and doing whatever. And, Eberl's talking into all the microphones and such. So then Manuel Neuer comes out, and initially Neuer is about ready to start at that number 1 station, for lack of a better way to phrase it. The number 1 station with the camera and all the scribes and all the folks and lighting, the whole schmear. So Neuer is at number 1 station. Eberl had just wrapped up at number 4 station. So 1, 2 are cameraed. Then you go across 3 and 4. So if you go clockwise, Neuer was at station number 1. Eberl was wrapping up at station number 4. Neuer comes out to station number 1 and realizes that there are media of various languages and such. And so then he consults and then goes away from the multi-language station with the camera and the lighting and goes to station number 4, answers questions in German. And if I remember correctly, it was proposed to all of us that Neuer was going to answer questions first in German and then come back and do questions in other languages before he goes and rejoins his team. Neuer leaves station number 1, puts his backpack down, puts his drink down on the table, goes back around to the curtains, goes to station number 4, answers all the questions in German, and the other non-German language media are waiting still at station number 1. Neuer comes back around the curtain, grabs his backpack, grabs his drink, and leaves. So the only sound that you got from Eberl and Neuer was in German from the German media, and we're thankful that the German media was there and they were as fired, that they had everything fired up and all their batteries worked, so you got those quotes. So that was the situation in the Bayern mix zone. We thought we were going to get Neuer in English. We did not. The German media got Max Eberl and got Neuer in German, and that was what was recorded by them. So Eberl said what he said. Neuer, I think it's safe to say, threw Donnarumma under the bus. And like I said, just go back and look at Neuer's history. There were moments where Neuer has gone high and wide and trying to make sure that he got the ball and nobody else didn't. But it was a disappointing situation where I think a lot more languages could have, and a lot more fans could have been served by hearing the questions given to Eberl and to Neuer in languages other than German. Like I said, don't get me wrong. It was great that they answered questions and that they answered them the way that they did, and that word got out. But to me, Neuer, I think, was definitely not a member of GK Union. Thibaut Courtois was. And when you see someone that was as shaken as Donnarumma was, and then there were other reports that players stormed into the PSG locker room and went after Donnarumma and demanded that he come and apologize and all those kinds of things. Those have been refuted on multiple levels. But I understand I understand the notion of going in front of microphones and saying what you're going to say after a match. But like I said, I don't think that, and I understand the heat of the moment and being there for your teammate and all those things. But it was disappointing that not all of the assembled media got to ask questions of Max Eberl and Manuel Neuer. But we did get the answers that we got. And I would challenge the notion that Donnarumma was willing to accept the risk of injuring his opponent. Where you don't have to go in like that. Neuer says you don't have to go in like that. That's risky. Yeah, you do. If you want possession of the ball, hey, look, when a keeper goes up with a high knee to try to gain a clearance, what's that? Is that willing to accept the risk of injuring an opponent? Is that a situation where you don't have to go in like that? I would challenge that notion from Manuel Neuer, who is by far one of the most talented and legendary keepers this game has ever seen. That is not in dispute. But like I said, I understand saying something after an event like what sadly happened to Jamal Musiala, but to characterize it as a situation where you don't have to go in like that, then keepers aren't going to be keepers, especially when you're trying to gain possession on the end line to try to prevent a corner. And then willing to accept the risk of injuring his opponent. Putting that out there, like I said, what about a high challenge from a keeper? You're going up with elbows and knees. Are you willing to accept the risk of injuring an opponent when you do that? That is a possible byproduct of a high challenge. Donnarumma was trying to win possession of the ball. It just so happened that the angle that he was going down at, going against Musiala, trying to win possession away, where Donnarumma can get the ball at the end line with his hands, and Musiala is trying to win the ball and take it away by dribbling it away inside the 18. Fairness is always important. I would have reacted differently. At this point, I think that we probably should start going down tape. Start looking up, Manuel Neuer and player injuries. Things like that. Fairness is always important. I would have reacted differently. Reacted differently how? Not challenged for the ball? I doubt that. I doubt that seriously. Reacted differently. What are we specifically referring to, sir? Your talent is indisputable and undeniable. But I think that your reaction in this case is not what it should have been. So, like I said, that's that was what I wanted to. And like I said, when Jess comes in, I will ask her about GK Union. Like I said, I'm Team Courtois in this situation. We gave you the Thibaut Courtois quote, and I'm Team Courtois in this. It's disappointing to hear and see what was said by Manuel Neuer and Max Eberl. I understand where you're coming from. Trust me, I do. But for Neuer to say what he said, as someone who is one of the most aggressive keepers in the history of the game, and that's why he is as successful as he is, it's disappointing to hear. So that was like I said, that was one of the things that stuck with me from a serious injury for Jamal Musiala. And do not misunderstand, under any circumstance, I wish nothing but a full recovery, and I want Jamal Musiala to come back as a better player, as a talented player, as an incredibly talented player. I want him to come back at 130%. There's that moth that we were talking about. I'm guessing, once again, as Abby says, it probably was from an open door. So, like I said, it was just something that stuck with me from Club World Cup. And so, like I said, it's stuck with me, and that's where we are. Fluminense and Chelsea is today. PSG and Real Madrid's tomorrow. Fluminense is a big underdog at a plus 497. 90-minute draws a plus 284. Chelsea is a minus 161. So minus 161, plus 284, and Flu is a plus 500. Jason kind of went over in Morning Espresso, and I would suggest going back and listening to that. The analysis of the opposing viewpoints of the matchups when it comes to Flu and Chelsea. If you like the game, if you like the game to be what the game is, and you don't have a coach that's complaining about weather and temperatures and playing all the games. Now, that was one of the things that stuck with me. Maresca's talking about, we've played this many matches. Reporter came up to him and said, well, Flu's played more than you. The contrast of styles will be interesting. Once again, 3 o'clock at the Meadowlands. Should be on TNT or some offshoot therein. We'll go over what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it here coming up in a sec. But you will have the contrast of styles with Flu and with Chelsea. And then tomorrow you have PSG without Pacho and Lucas going up against Real Madrid. Numbers right there. PSG is still favored, by the way, at a plus 133. 90-minute draws a plus 265, and Real Madrid's a plus 193. So Flu is a big underdog today. Chelsea's the only team on the minus side in any of these matchups. PSG favored at a plus 133, even with the absences of Pacho and Lucas. And so we will see what happens today and tomorrow, 3 o'clock, from the Meadowlands, in the land of the expensive hotels. What else is going on today? Once again, Open Cup quarters, Minnesota, Chicago, CBS Sports Network. Paramount Plus is going to have them all for you. FS2 has a Canadian Premier League doubleheader. York and Ottawa at 7, Cavalry and Vancouver at 9:30. Flu and Chelsea is at 3 o'clock on TNT. It is also on DAZN USA. Paramount Plus has both the matchups in the quarters for the Open Cup, Minnesota, Chicago, San Jose, and Austin. Big FOX has Poland and Sweden in the Euros at 3 at noon. FS1 has Germany and Denmark, and that takes care of your activity today. The players to watch, according to Paul Kennedy in the Open Cup for these matchups, he is giving you Anthony Marcanic, 2 late goals in a 3-minute span to get Minnesota into the round of 16 by beating all caps. Scored in his last 2 matches, 4 goals in 25, scored once in his first 3 MLS seasons. And Paul is going for Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez for his player to watch in tonight's late night matchup. 5 goals in 19 league games so far for the Verde. 3 goals in 2 Open Cup matches to give him 10 and 10. Remember, Atlanta United's leading scorer when they won it in 2019. Players to watch tomorrow, A.J. Marcucci for Red Bulls. Connecticut College made it to MLS, 67th pick in the 2021 Super Draft, earned his first MLS start this season. Red Bulls Open Cup keeper, stopping the deciding shot in the shootout win over the Union in the round of 16. Sorry, Rich. Jordan Farr for DC United, yet to play in an MLS match coming over to United after 6 seasons in the championship. Delivered in the shootout against Charlotte in the round of 16, 4 saves on 5 attempts, a new Open Cup record for the modern era. So he goes with keepers tomorrow for tomorrow's matchups. A.J. Marcucci for Red Bulls, Jordan Farr for DC United. And so that's what you're staring at. So Jordan Farr yet to play in an MLS match after coming over to United after 6 seasons in the championship. So that's what you're looking at. So that's what Paul Kennedy is staring at for all of those, for all of them matchups. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, the Euros. I forgot to talk about the Euros. By the way, the Euros right now, going over the juice boxes for today. 2 matches a day for the rest of the week. Germany, a -270 hosting Denmark. 90-minute draws a plus a 404. Denmark, a plus 665. I always wonder. Do the juice box folks always try to avoid a number that is a plus 666? I'm just asking. Then your afternoon end of the doubleheader, Poland a plus 919 going up against Sweden. Sweden a minus 385. Your 90-minute draw is a plus 488. Looking at the Euro in and of itself and all of the activity. Let me see if I can update us on where we are in the Euros, by the way. I had the notes. Everybody's saying that 5 changes the Lionesses have to make to beat the Netherlands. You have to make these changes. And England as a club is getting destroyed in the media. I know that's shocking. Here's just a sample of the headlines. Luke Edwards, a very busy man at the Telegraph. England must shed their fear of failure to revive Euros campaign. England are delusional if they think they can win the Euros playing like this. These are headlines. Sloppy England reduced to shadow of former selves by France in Euros opener. 5 changes Lionesses must make to beat Netherlands at Euro 2025. That's just one paper. Man. Quick update, by the way. The Wales team bus was involved in a crash on the way to, let's see if that's a crash on the way to training in St. Gallen ahead of their clash with France. Head coach Rhian Wilkinson, who was not on the coach, as she and midfielder Angarad James traveled separately for the pre-match MD-1s. Believed all the players were uninjured, although reports suggest the driver of another vehicle involved was receiving medical attention. Wales have canceled their planning training session as a result. So no reported injuries on the Welsh side of things, keeping an eye on an impacted automobile that was a part of the collision. Germany, Denmark, and updates today. Spain's fireworks, goal-scoring charts, all the things that are attached. So Euro updates in addition to team news kicking off at 5 BST. Germany 1 change. Julia Gwynn ruled out with an knee injury. Carlotta Wamser comes in. Germany's team news. Berger, Linder, Nack, Minga, Wamser, Nuschken, Sens, Buell, Dahlmann, Brand, and Schuler for Germany. Denmark, no changes from their defeat to Sweden. Østegård, Ferge, Balasager, Veje, Togerson, Holmgaard, Snerle, the other Holmgaard, Thomsen, Vansgaard, and Harder. By the way, the FAW, the Welsh Football Association. The Cameroon national team bus involved in a road traffic accident whilst traveling to Arena St. Gallen for their match day -1. All passengers on the national team bus and in the other vehicle are unharmed. FAW's priority has been to remove the players from the scene, return to the training base to complete preps for tomorrow's match. And that came out 12 minutes ago. So that's where we are. So Group C, Germany, Denmark. Germany got their campaign with the 2-0 win over Poland. Denmark fell 1-0 defeat to the hands of Sweden. Possible for both Germany to qualify for the knockouts and for Denmark to be knocked out. Denmark will be out if they lose to Germany. Sweden avoiding defeat by Poland. Germany will progress if they beat Denmark and Poland do not beat Sweden. There'll be a test later on. That's your update. Sweden 1-0 over Denmark. Germany 2-0 over Poland. Angadal, Sweden is off to a winning start in the tournament in and of itself. So that is your women's Euro update on the day. And really quickly, let me see if there's any other news going on. Let's see. I'm trying to see what other transfers might be involved. Chelsea, yeah, and this is the other part of the subplot. Chelsea's going up against Thiago Silva, who, by the way, is 40. He's a man. Your old buddy Thiago Silva going at it today. So very, 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 very cool. So Spain hit Belgium for 6. Gomes rescued Portugal with a late equalizer to deny Italy a victory. Sporting are demanding a guaranteed 70 million euro on Arsenal on the Gyökeres deal. We mentioned the Sosa deal from Ajax, Crystal Palace. Luka Modric is joining Milan from Real Madrid after the Club World Cup. That's according to Max Allegri. And so you've got that. And just let me see how old this story is in particular. Oh, it's just okay. So headline from Ed Aarons at The Guardian: Crystal Palace in the dark over the European place and stuck in Texter's tangled web. So apparently now John Textor could be chasing after Sheffield Wednesday, who is in need of an owner, or Watford. And Palace are now lying in wait to see if everything falls into place so Palace can continue into Champions League football. And Lyon having accepted the meeting with UEFA, if they failed anything, they would relinquish Europa League and clear the way for Palace. So right now you're still looking at all these things. And if I'm Michelle Kang, I am really pissed. I am really pissed if I'm Michelle Kang with what's going on with Lyon right now. I would be, oh my God, I would be so mad. Let's see. Euros. We still haven't gone over MLS last weekend. So before we get out of here, let me just roll over the finals from last weekend and give you the standings, because that was one league I forgot to talk about, and roll through all of the other matchups. So once again, just to recap your finals from this past weekend, we actually have a couple of matches in the midweek tomorrow we're going to have to keep an eye on. One of them it's in their makeup games involving Messi and friends to start. So this weekend, we mentioned Sounders and Crew. We talked about that yesterday with Wilfred Nancy and Brian Schmetzer convincing the officials to do the right thing. Wilfred Nancy, stand-up dude. We're going to go Saturday's action. Charlotte had a 2-0 lead, drew the purple team. Orlando City at a plus 268. Cincinnati 2-1 win over Chicago. Fire at a minus 119 or 114. Messi and friends put 4 on Montreal after being down 1-0 at a minus 116. Nashville, 1 goal on the board later than late. 100th minute PK by Hani Mukhtar beating Philadelphia 1-0 at a minus 110. Austin and LAFC postponed. We're keeping an eye on everything going on down in the Hill Country and sending our love that way in Texas. We're chasing some ideas for stories. We'll keep you posted on that, with what's going on down there in Texas with just the incredible flooding going on with the Guadalupe River. RSL 3-2 winners overall. Caps at a minus 161. San Jose and Red Bulls. This one was the disappointing one for me. It was a draw, which meant it was a plus 300, but you only got 2 goals on it. 1-1. Houston and San Diego, by the way, that one was the crazy one. Houston goes to San Diego, 7-goal thriller at a plus 411. Portland over the Revs by the score of 2-1. Portland gets the win at a plus 106. And then once again, we mentioned Friday Night Football, Seattle and Columbus, the 1-1 draw. Standings after the weekend, heading into the midweek. In the Eastern Conference, Cincinnati on everybody, unless otherwise, 21 matches played. Cincinnati's at 42 points. Nashville's at 41. Philadelphia's at 40. Crew at 38. That's kind of Group 1. Orlando, the purple team's at 34 points. Messi and friends have 4 matches in hand from CONCACAF and Club World Cup that they have to make up. Like I said, they win them all. They're top of the Eastern Conference. Right now, 17 matches played, 32 points. NYC at 31. Red Bulls are at 30. Fire at 28. That's your playoff bar. Charlotte at 26. Revs at 24. DC at 19. Atlanta at 18. Toronto at 17. We are efforting opposition research for the week. Later in the week to break down Toronto FC and the mess that they're in after having lost 4 of 6. And CF Montreal is at 14 points on the season, goal difference of minus 22. They have only scored 18. They've given up 40. DC scored 17. They've given up 39. Western Conference. San Diego, 4-match win streak snapped. They're at 39 points. They've played 21. Vancouver's played 20 match in hand. They've lost 3 of 4, having to deal with multiple competitions. 38 points. Minnesota, 37 points. And that's kind of Group 1. Portland at 33. Seattle at 30. San Jose has drawn 3 of 4. They're at 28 points. LAFC, 17 matches played. Obvious reasons, they're at 26 points. They win their 4. They'll be at the top of the West. Houston's your 8 at 26 points. 4 teams at 26 points, all at 7 wins. LAFC, biggest goal difference at plus 6. Houston Dynamo minus 5, Colorado minus 6, and Austin with 20 matches played is at minus 8. That's the order 7 through 10. Sporting at 23 points. RSL at 22. Dallas has lost 3 in a row. They're at 21. All Caps have lost 4 of 5. They're at 15. LAG 2, 6, and 13. They've given up 42 goals this season. They are at 12 points at the bottom of the West. Let me make another quick tour and see if I'm missing any other stories and see if there's anything going on. Abby, have a fantastic Tuesday. Dawn Star, I know that a 3 o'clock game really should be a primetime game, but we'll remember 3 o'clock Eastern time is prime time in England, so you're kind of splitting your difference. We know all about that here with what's going on with Club World Cup, don't we? So you got that. So Arsenal's closing in on Gyökeres after signing Martin Zubimendi for $60 million. And Peter Rutzler at the Times is saying that Chelsea have to sell to register new signings for the Champions League. No real surprise there. Let's see. I think that is all the news that we have. We mentioned Kyle Walker signing a deal with Burnley at the age of 35. So Open Cup taken care of, Euro taken care of, MLS we're caught up. A couple of things though to keep an eye on. Pedro Vite in Vancouver looks like he's being courted by Pumas, and Toronto. And this is kind of what I also wanted to get into with Toronto. Toronto, by the way, is chasing after, apparently, Josh Brownhill, who, and then once again, this is from our friends at Waking the Red. So 2 DP slots, obviously, for filling out the 2 oopsies involving Insigne and Bernardeschi. They have reportedly made a bid to sign Josh Brownhill following the expiration of his deal at newly promoted English Premier side Burnley. According to TBR Football's chief correspondent Graham Bailey, TFC submitted a £20 million offer for the 29-year-old. TFC executives reportedly flew to England to present their long-term project to Brownhill in person, underlining the seriousness of their new money pursuit. Brownhill was Burnley's captain and scored 18 goals in the championship, second in lead behind Swansea's Joel Pirro, 6 assists, 24 goal involvements, 44 matches. Also, he's getting interest from Everton, West Ham, Italy, Germany, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia. And apparently now, for someone whose value at Transfermarkt is currently listed at €14 million, Toronto wants to throw 30. They submitted a $27.25 million bid for Josh Brownhill. Once again, 2 DP spots available. Scotty Tuhati, the manager at Burnley, still hopeful of convincing Brownhill to stay with Premier League coming. Quote from Parker, Brownhill has yet to make a final decision. Expiration of his contract was back on June 30, currently a free, and can negotiate with any club. So it would be a free, but it would be a free. You offered almost $27 million for someone who's listed at 14. So that's what Toronto is thinking. So that's the latest out of Toronto and Vancouver. And like I said, hopefully we can keep up with transfer news and things and keep you posted with everything opposition research coming later in the week. Thanks to Dawn Star. Thanks to Abby. Thanks to Emilio. Thanks to Rich. Let's see. Thank you for telling me, Rich, that was crypto. So it's an industry built on nothing. Morning, Emilio. Morning, Rich. Morning, my LFC history. Do not be a stranger. And LFC history points out their former player Tommy Smith played for Tampa Bay on loan in 1976. Tampa Bay, Tommy Smith. We know all about Tommy Smith. Okay, and Rich says, Wikipedia says the Miami FC still plays at Pitbull Stadium. So it's Southside Kia Field at Pitbull Stadium still. Okay. Yeah, it's so let's see. My LFC history, Abby, Rich, and then we're getting into the geography of Florida. Morning, David. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anybody that I missed. I know that Alex is in here somewhere. And this is where we all say hi to everybody. And morning, Lokeville. So morning, Kefsey. Morning, Dawn Star. And I think that does it. I think that's everybody that was in here this morning. So as always, it's great to have all of you folks hanging out with us as you always do. Tomorrow, once again, Tyler Pilgrim, Scarves and Spikes, bat and leadoff. Dylan Butler at 10 o'clock. Juan Hernandez, the head coach at Chattanooga FC on the women's side as they get ready for the WPSL playoffs, joining us at 10:30. Plus all the news that's fit to print in and all between. So Brad Gazan is one tough dude. That is another go for SDH AM. Thanks for dropping by as you always do. And thanks for being a part of the SDH network and SDH family as you always do. Remember, show SDH AM tomorrow. Atlanta United 2 on the network on our Mixler channel and at soccerdownhere.net tomorrow night. And then, once again, on Sunday night on the network, both of the matchups, FC Cincinnati coming to town Wednesday and Crew 2 coming to town on Sunday. So that's the go. That's the go for everything going on involving this universe that we call the SDH universe. Back in a little less than 22. It's the end of the show. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. That means we get to do this. Back at it again tomorrow. Bye.